Hey everyone, welcome to Portal24. I am so excited to kick today off because more than 75% of you did not read the instructions and are not in this channel. I'm going to extend for the people that are in here. If you still have a question that you didn't ask yet and you want to ask a question, go ahead and ask a question because honestly, most people did not read the instructions. This is what happens when you do things for free. People just show up and they don't pay attention. So thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for paying attention. And to those of you who submitted a question, thank you so much. If no one else submits a question, then that's fine. We're just going to keep it short and sweet today. But if you do have a question, just click on the link above and submit the question. I'm going to get started in a few minutes. Okay, let's get started with the first question. And I did see that 3 more questions were submitted, so I will add those into the questions as well. So the first question is, besides affirmations, how can I reprogram my subconscious mind? Now, if you were in the Reprogram Yourself challenge or if you bought that program, this is going to be a little repetitious for you, but this is something that's always really great to go into. So one thing that I need you to know is affirmations are actually the least effective way to reprogram your unconscious mind. Now, and I mean that especially when you're in the beginning of doing this work, because you really need to use subconscious reprogramming tools in order to actually get into your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind does not speak English. Your conscious mind speaks English. Your unconscious mind speaks in sensory input. So while affirmations can be effective once you've done a lot of the reprogramming work, and they can actually work, you're actually going to create more resistance in your mind and in your nervous system by dysregulating it and activating the stress response and actually going into an energetic state that's the opposite of what you desire, because your mind and body have been programmed in opposition of what you desire. So just saying an affirmation without doing the work is actually counterintuitive. So what you really want to do is understand that, and it depends on where you're at. So you need to use discernment with where you're at in your journey. If you've been doing this for a really long time, and you've already used all of the tools to effectively get into your unconscious mind, then affirmations are great. But if you're at the beginning of your journey, or you haven't really been serious about doing the work, or you haven't been consistent about reprogramming and doing the regulating work, then you really want to start with the tools that are going to help you. So one of the most effective modalities is neuro-linguistic programming. And this is a way, it's often called NLP, and it teaches you how to communicate in sensory input to be able to manipulate the sensory input that's stored in your unconscious mind. Because as I mentioned, this is how your unconscious speaks. So your unconscious speaks in sensory input, which visualizes, and it's very imagery related, and it's very audio related, and it's very kinesthetic, so it's very feeling related. So you really want to be learning how to use tools like NLP to get into your mind. Now, I wouldn't be able to teach you NLP on this, and it's not really something that you can just Google. Typically, you need to be in a program with somebody, or no, honestly, typically you need to be in a one-on-one space and get a session with somebody doing NLP. But that's why I created the Reprogram Yourself Challenge, because I teach you how to do NLP on yourself, and I've never seen anyone do this before. The way that NLP is so effective is it can have instantaneous results and shifts because of the fact that you are actually going in and manipulating what's already been stored in your unconscious mind. And as you know, your unconscious mind is creating 95% of your reality. So if you want to join the Reprogram Yourself Challenge, I highly recommend that you do that. Or I would just recommend getting into the AOMU membership, because if you join before April, you save $111 a month, which is over $1,300 in savings. And you will get a group coaching call with me once a month, plus all of my programs besides business. So any additional questions you have, you would be able to ask them and they would be able to get answered. Now, another really effective tool is visualizing because, as I mentioned, your mind works in imagery. So you can visualize your desired reality, and that's helping you to get really crystal clear on what your desired reality looks like, what it feels like, and what the version of you who is living in that desired reality looks like, feels like, moves like, what they dress like, where they're living, what car they're driving. This is a really great tool because your unconscious mind does not know the difference between what has happened, what is happening, and what will happen because time is a man made construct. And this is literally a virtual reality game that you're playing. I know that that can be hard to really consciously understand, but it's because it's bigger than your conscious mind. But just understand that visualizing is really effective because of the fact that you are seeing yourself in a different reality and you're feeling yourself in that reality, and you're proving to your unconscious mind that that version of yourself exists because you are seeing them and walking around in them. And the best way to visualize is by being in an associated state, not a dissociated state. So this means you really want to see yourself through your own two eyes, living throughout that new reality. I have a lot of really powerful visualizations on my website if you just want to download one of them. My visualizations, I don't know, there's probably like 7 of them that you would get access to in AOMU. They are extremely effective. Like, my visualizations are really good, but that's something that you would also want to be doing. Hypnosis is also another extremely effective tool because it relaxes your prefrontal cortex to allow your conscious mind to be bypassed. And then everything that you're saying and hearing in that hypnotic state, when you're in a theta state, is going to get right into your unconscious mind. So just like from 0 to 7, you were a walking sponge. Everything that you experienced and heard and you were told went in your unconscious mind as a truth that you are now creating rules from those words and experiences that you experienced back then. So your unconscious mind is literally using what you heard from ages 0 to 7, what you saw and what you felt, to create your reality. And that's where a lot of people get trapped, because the people that raised you were doing the best with the information that they had, but the world has completely changed since you were a child, just because we're in a digital era. So if you're still using the programming that was installed in you before you were 7, then it's like trying to use a DOS operating system on a MacBook. It's just not going to work, and it's not going to be effective, and it's actually going to be really stressful and frustrating because you can't hard work your way out of your programmings. You need to change your programmings. That's why I always tell you to work smarter and not harder, especially in manifestation. Now, another thing that you can do is listening to sleep tapes. Now, again, because your unconscious mind doesn't speak in words, I would really say that sleep tapes are going to be more effective, again, once you've started doing the other unconscious work and you're tying it together. Now, there's also a thing that I want to mention. While sleep tapes are really effective, it's best if you're using a sleep tape that you have created because you specifically know what reality you're trying to create. If you want to know how to create your own sleep tape, I teach you that in the Already Yours masterclass, and that's also available in AOMU, so you can get that in either place. Now, one thing I do want to mention is sleep tapes do have some, I don't want to say negative, but they kind of some effects that you aren't ideal when you start them. So a lot of the times you'll have nightmares when you start listening to them. A lot of the times you will notice that you'll wake up and your phone will be off because your unconscious mind will turn them off because it doesn't like what it's hearing. So just know that sleep tapes are something that you need to be dedicated and consistent to listening to for 30 to 90 days minimally, because of the fact that your unconscious mind will fight against this. And another thing that happens a lot, and this happens to me all the time, is like, especially if I start a new sleep tape for a new thing that I'm calling in to manifest, that oftentimes like you're gonna notice that your sleep quality really goes down. So you might be waking up more tired because you're gonna be more consciously aware while you're actually sleeping. So a lot of the times you'll be hearing people in your dreams saying the exact words back to you. And so just know that if if there's some resistance or a lot of resistance when you start listening to a sleep tape, that's absolutely normal. The best way to resolve that is to continue to go through it and to also be doing the unconscious reprogramming modalities while you are awake. Now, the other thing that I would say is your unconscious mind lives in your body as well. So it isn't just all mental things that you want to be doing, it's also nervous system regulation tools that you want to be doing, so that way you're regulating your nervous system as well. This is one piece of the puzzle that a lot of people miss in manifesting, and they just keep creating more and more resistance because they're just going about it through affirmations, but they're never regulating their nervous system. So they're doing all of this work to say all these affirmations, but the affirmations aren't landing or sticking. So EFT tapping, emotional freedom techniques, is a great way to regulate your nervous system. This helps you to tap out the energy that's stored in your body that's preventing you from vibrating at a higher frequency, and it releases emotions that are stored from past experiences. Now, that's something that I teach you in soul manifestation, or that is also available in the Reprogram Yourself Challenge, and it's also available in AOMU. All of the programs are available in AOMU minus the business programs. So if you want to learn how to actually do EFT tapping, please do not learn it from TikTok, because these people have no fucking idea what they're doing. You can learn it in there. And then the last thing that I'll say is breath work is my favorite way to guide my students and my clients through regulating their nervous system, because of the fact that you can do breath work anywhere. You don't need to even really take time out of your day. Like, you can do breath work while you're in your car. You can do breath work while you're in line at the grocery store. Like, you can literally be breathing at your desk and no one's going to notice that you're doing breath work. So I highly encourage you to do breath work as well, because it's going to move stagnant energy through your body and allow new energy to move through. It's going to ground you back into your body, especially if you're getting super heady and feeling anxiety. And it's going to help you to come back to the present moment. Okay, the second question is, how do you maintain a high vibration while living with people that are constantly in a low vibration and push low vibrational topics onto you? I do not have the option to leave right now. So honestly, I would say that this is one of the most common questions that I get asked. And if you are in my membership, you've heard me address this many, many times. So what I need you to understand is, one, here's a lot of things I need to understand with this question, but one, the majority of people on earth at this time are still unconscious beings. The majority of people on earth are still living in the matrix. It is not up to you to change the people that are being unconscious, and it is not up to the people that are living unconscious to push anything onto you. What you have to realize is everyone in your reality is a teacher. Every moment is a lesson. Now, a lot of the times you are going to come into this earth with a soul contract to become conscious. And honestly, one of the best ways to become a conscious human is to be surrounded by deeply unconscious people. So, quite honestly, when you start going through this spiritual awakening journey or this personal development journey, or even deciding to be an entrepreneur, most people aren't doing this work. They won't understand this work, and they are so deeply programmed to operate out of a victim frequency that is where they will always be. And you'll hear me say this a million and one times, but the people in your life can only meet you at the level that they've met themselves. So if you are living in your house with your family, which is typically the most common situation, right? You have to realize that your soul picked these people. Whether that is painful for you to hear or not, shadow work is about being accountable. Personal development work is about being accountable and taking accountability of yourself. So at the end of the day, you have to realize that you asked to be surrounded by these people, because these people propelled you into growing, into becoming conscious, into evolving, into becoming a leader that's going to actually help pave a new world order. Like, that's what this generation, and I don't care what age you are when I say that. If you are here, if you are in my world, regardless of age, you are here to help bring the collective to a new paradigm. And that means that you actually probably needed to be surrounded, deeply, deeply, deeply surrounded by people that weren't doing this work, because it's a hell of a lot easier to not do the work. Honestly, it's so much easier to be unconscious. It's so much easier to play in a victim frequency. It's so much easier to blame other people, to blame your circumstances, to blame the government, to blame inflation, to blame your socioeconomic status, to blame your gender, to blame your family, to blame. Like, most people are playing the blame shame game and they're never growing, and they just stay talking about politics, or they talk about how rich people are bad, or they talk about how everything's so expensive. Like, this is where most people are at, and it isn't your job to change those people. It's your job to be able to do the work on yourself, so that way you are not engaging in these conversations and you are not allowing other people to affect how you feel, how you think, and how you speak. Now, I know that that is a lot easier said than done. That's literally why I have my membership. That's why I created Soul Manifestation, which is my deep personal development and healing program. Because at the end of the day, and this might be a little tough to hear, but if you've been in my world, you know that my potency is, I'm going to keep it straight with you. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to cut through the noise, and I'm going to call you out on your blind spots. So if you're new to my world, you might have to like sit with this and take a break and take a deep breath and come back to it. But I say this with love, is no one can make you feel any way that you don't want to feel. If you have not done the work on yourself to have strong boundaries, to have strong standards, to be able to stay in your power no matter what, that isn't on them, that's on you. So what that means is you have to be able to do the work to understand what actually does drain your vibration. You have to have full discernment of what conversations make you feel really drained, on what activities make you feel really drained, on what things really you don't want to be a part of anymore. And the thing is a lot of people try and rush through this and be like, well, I can't, or not even rush through it. A lot of people try and use their living situation or their work situation as a scapegoat as to why they can't do the work. But quite honestly, you are going to still be living in the matrix. 99% of people are still not doing the work. So you can't use other people as a scapegoat or as an excuse for you to not be able to do the work on yourself. And if anything, when you're living in a negative household, when you're working in a negative work environment, this is the deepest teacher for you to actually be able to show up like you say you're going to. It's so easy for you to think positively when you're surrounded by positive people. It's so easy to have empowering conversations when you're around people who are having empowering conversations. But you can't control every environment that you're in. And if you're constantly allowing your environment to dictate how you feel and how you think, then you're operating in circumstantial power. You're not operating in personal power. So that means that you need to use this time as a time for you to go deeper into the work instead of avoiding the work. So what do I mean by that? That means having stronger boundaries. If there is a conversation that is draining you, you don't have to engage in it. First of all, you don't have to engage in it. If say there's a conversation at the dinner table and they're just talking politics and they're bitching and moaning, use this as a time for you to be able to build your emotional intelligence to not react and to not respond. Just because the people in your household or at your work are having a certain conversation does not mean that you have to engage in it. Think about it when you're on social media. Do you comment on every single post that you disagree with? No. That's a clear indication that you have no emotional intelligence if you're doing that. I call it Facebook etiquette, where you're trying to correct people that actually made the post in their comments, or you're arguing with people, or you're trying to prove yourself right. Like, that doesn't get you anywhere. And if anything, you are lowering your standards to try and make these people understand. They can only meet you at the level that they've met themselves. So that means being able to sit there, eat dinner. When you're done with dinner, get up, wash your plate, and go up to your room. Just because they're having a certain conversation doesn't mean that you have to be involved in it. This means being able to double down on what your daily routine looks like, what your nightly routine looks like. This means not sitting in the living room with your entire family, or if it's like a roommate that's negative, not sitting in the living room watching shitty television where they're watching crime podcasts or they're watching the news or they're watching horror movies. Instead, you're going to go to your room and you're going to listen to a guided meditation. You're going to do a hypnosis. You're going to journal. You're going to be investing into a group program. You're going to be investing into a membership. You're going to be watching YouTube videos that are empowering. You're going to be listening to empowering podcasts. You are going to be getting really clear on what makes you feel good. You're going to be making sure you're taking care of your energy. You are going to no longer spend it all the time with them. Just because you live in the same household as them does not mean that you have to be with them 24/7. That means that when somebody puts on the news, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to be like, "Wow, why do you always watch the news?" Again, like that's no emotional intelligence. That means you're just going to get up. Somebody starts having a conversation, they're arguing, you're going to get up, you're going to go into your room, you're going to go walk outside, you're going to go sit in the backyard, you're going to go drive to a library, you're going to go drive to a coffee shop. Like, you aren't limited by your circumstances unless you're allowing your circumstances to limit you. So you have to be the one that, like, because again, you said push low vibrational topics onto you. No one can push anything onto you. Think about a politician. When a politician gets asked a question, if it's a question that they don't want to answer, if it's a question that doesn't align with their agenda, what do? They change the topic. They change the topic and they talk so deeply and so passionately about something else powerfully that the person ends up forgetting that they had even asked that question, or it shifts the conversation. You have the ability to shift the conversation. You have the ability to leave a conversation. You have the ability to not engage in a conversation. You have the ability to go work out at the gym so you have more energy. You have the ability to cook your own meals so that way you have better food and you have better habits. You have the ability to eat at a different time so you're not surrounded by them. Like, you literally have so much more movement and flexibility than you're giving yourself credit for, because you're allowing your family or your roommates or whoever it is to limit you. And quite honestly, you're just using them as a scapegoat to not do the work. And that's your ego driving your life instead of you becoming a conscious human. So you've got to be more mindful of your standards and boundaries, and you've got to be less reactive, and you've got to be in your personal power more and create more healthy habits and routines, so that way you're not getting swayed or emotionally reactive when your family or roommates haven't changed, because you're not doing this work for them to change. You're doing this work so you can navigate having a relationship with them without them changing. Okay, I'm going to jump around a little bit just because I went on a walk. I'm sitting in the sunlight, and this question is just calling me to answer it, even though this is a newer submitted question. I'm at an age where I thought I would be really successful, but I still haven't achieved most of my goals. I get really anxious sometimes. Any words of advice to not compare myself and be at peace? So this is such a great question. And the first thing that I want to say to you is time is an illusion. You are literally a divine being that is existing in every timeline at all timelines. You will never stop existing. What is the rush? Like, we've been so programmed to rush so much in life and in society, where we feel like we are measuring our happiness, our success, our worthiness by achievements that we have accomplished. And if we haven't accomplished the achievements by a certain timeline, if we haven't made a certain enough money, if we haven't gotten married, or if we haven't had the kids, if we didn't buy the house yet, if we haven't gotten that new car, like, we've created this society where we're trying to get material things, and the material things are telling us whether we get to be happy, whether we get to be at peace, whether we get to be in love, whether we get to feel abundant. And it's like, at the end of the day, that's all bullshit. You get to experience life because you incarnated as a soul in a human body who has two legs that they get to walk on, who has two eyes that they get to see with, who has two ears that you get to hear with. There's no end goal. Like, life isn't a destination, it's a journey. It's about falling in love with the life that you're creating because you're alive. Like, yeah, you might not have accomplished the things, but did you actually genuinely want those things? Or was it something that someone at some time in some place told you that you needed to have to feel happy? Because if we look at the Tibetan monks, if we look at Buddhist monks, the people that have arguably reached the highest state, and not even arguably, they have more gamma brainwave states than anyone because of how long they've meditated. The people that have the least amount of things, and especially in Buddhism, they're all about non-attachment. And when you have a lot of material things, you are attached at some level to them. The people that reach enlightenment, that reach the 700 to 1,000 hertz, which is the highest vibrational frequency on the frequency scale of emotions. And if you're in Evidence Bank, I'm giving you that whole frequency scale of emotions. But they are the ones that have the most amount of peace, and they have the least amount of success. They have the least amount of material things. Peace isn't something that you're going to find by an achievement. Peace is something that you'll find when you are able to sit in this present moment with yourself, by yourself, in stillness. Right now, at this very moment, I am sitting in the sunroom. I just closed the windows because I didn't want the noise quality to be terrible on this. But I literally, for the past hour, I've lost track of time. For the past maybe 2 hours, I have been sitting in this sunroom just looking at the beauty. I've been watching the trees dance in the wind. I've been allowing the sun to just sit on my face. I have just been in this peak state of enlightenment because I went and I walked the girls outside, and I was in slides, and I had a t-shirt on, and I'm in upstate New York in the Adirondacks, so I'm almost in Canada. Like, I'm in as far north as you can go in New York right now, and it is like 50 degrees outside, and it feels like heaven on earth. I went and walked by the lake. I listened to the birds. I didn't have my phone with me. I have just been sitting here just at so much peace. And it wasn't because I made a certain amount of dollars today. It wasn't because I had a certain amount of signups for a program. It wasn't because I reached a certain amount of engagement on my social media. It wasn't because someone complimented me. It wasn't because of anything other than the fact that I chose to be at peace in this present moment, because I choose stillness, because I choose movement, because I choose to do the work that really lights my soul on fire. I choose to have spaciousness in my day so that I can go for a walk. I could have sat here and I could have just pushed out these voice notes, but the sun was shining. The birds were singing. The girls deserve to have a walk. I deserve to have a walk. Do you see how, like, and I know you can even feel it in my voice because my back was starting to get cramped up earlier. I really wanted to get outside, but I was like, well, I got to start answering these voice notes because y'all know me. I'm not like, let me just say it quickly and then that's it. I'm going to give you an in-depth answer. And my answers are going to be better because I went outside and walked. Did I plan on walking and then coming back and immediately answering more of these? Yeah. Did I? No, because I edited a video. I started sitting in the sun. I drank some green tea. I ate some hummus and some chips. I stared at the mountains. I listened to the sounds that were coming in. I breathed the fresh air. The majority of things that I just listed off were free. The majority of things that I just listed off did not come from achieving something outside of myself. Peace is something that you will achieve internally. And the thing is if you're always looking at what you have done as a measure of how happy you get to be, or how successful you get to feel, or how peaceful you get to feel, you'll never be at peace. You'll never feel successful enough. You'll never feel abundant enough, especially if you're looking at what other people in your industry have done or what other people at your age are doing or have achieved or what their lives look like. Because there's always going to be somebody that has more money than you. There's always going to be somebody that has a bigger business than you. There's always going to be somebody that has more influence than you. There's always going to be somebody living in some way that you could say is more than what you have. And I put quotes around that when I say more because it's all subjective. But at the end of the day, what if you didn't achieve the things that you wanted to achieve because your logical mind, the programmed portion of you, told you that you needed to accomplish these things to feel this way? But what if your soul was trying to show you that that wasn't the way? The way was you learning to actually be at peace with you, learning to fall in love with the simple moments, learning to appreciate what you have done, learning to appreciate where you have been, learning to appreciate this moment right now. Like, when is the last time that you let this moment right now be enough? When is the last time that you let the current moment that you are in be the best moment of your life? Because a lot of the times we are in this present moment, but in our bodies, like our bodies in this present moment, but in our mind, we are living in our past, looking at how we could have done things differently, trying to blame something that happened a long time ago, not letting go of it, or we're projecting ourselves into this future reality where we're starting. And if we go into the past, we'll feel depressed. And when you go into the future, you'll feel anxious. And it's like, there's always more that you could be doing. There's always more that you could have achieved. But if we look at, if you zoomed out and if you looked at more people, not just of your age range, not just of your industry, but if you were to pick, like if you could just zoom out to see the entire globe, and then you were to just put a pinpoint down in 10 random spots, and if you were to zoom in on those 10 different people living in 10 different countries in 10 different age groups, you would see people living a completely different life experience. And the people that have the least amount, the people that have achieved the least in a societal like success achievement way, I would argue that those would be the happiest people. And I've seen that time and time again, traveling to third world countries. Like, they're always the happiest people. I'm a New Yorker, born and raised. I've traveled a lot, but New York is one of the most miserable places to be because New York is a place where people are hard workers. I've never seen anyone work harder than in New York State. But a lot of people are miserable in New York because we work. And then you achieve something and it's not enough because there's another milestone. There will always be another milestone. There will always be somebody that's more successful. Just because they're more successful doesn't mean they're happier. And if you can stop attaching your happiness and your success and your abundance to things outside of you, and you can start genuinely looking at your current reality right now and saying, how can I just fall in love with my life more? How can I just fall in love with myself more? For me, that means the simple things. My favorite thing in the world to do, one of them, because I have many, but like one of my favorite things in the world to do is cook. So what do? I cook 3 meals from scratch every single day. I have done that even when I worked 8 hours a day, even when I was taking 18 courses in school while working 40 hours a week, while driving 2 hours back and forth. For me, it's always been about finding the simple pleasures in life. So if you're looking at things outside of you and thinking that, oh, well, I should be in a bigger house, or I should be married by now, or I should have kids, or my business should be this far along, or I should be this high up the career ladder, my body should be this weight, I should be feeling like this. Like, we put all of this pressure on ourselves, like we're not enough as we are right now. And you are the walking divine. You have always been enough. You will always be enough. And your enoughness has never been tied to what you have done and what you are doing. It always will be tied to who you're being. And who you're being is not dependent on what you have accomplished. So, what I would really say to you is, how can you get out of your head and get more into your body and start falling in love with your life again? The simple pleasures. Like, what do you love to do? Do you love to listen to music? Do you love to write? Do you love to cook? Do you love to dance? Do you love to make art? What do you love to do? And are you actually doing that? Or if you look at your life, are you doing a bunch of things that is like you keeping up with the Joneses, but you're not actually fulfilled? You're not actually happy in any area, because that's when we're going to be really dissatisfied. When we're living in our heads, we're trying to compare ourselves to other people. And it's like, stop watching what everyone else is doing. Get off of social media. Stop looking around you at your work or wherever you're at, like where you're in this comparison. You're only going to be comparing yourself if you're allowing yourself to constantly watch what other people are doing. Who cares? Who cares what other people are doing? There are some people that are living on homesteads, that are planting their own plants, that are completely basically off the grid, and they're happy. There are people that are building businesses and they're multi-million-dollar businesses and they're loving what they're doing and they're happy. There are people that will be happy at every single level, but the people that are happy while they're doing the things are the people that are giving themselves permission to be happy while they're doing the things. So the way that you're going to find peace is to stop comparing yourself. The way you're going to stop comparing yourself is to stop watching what other people are doing. The way you're going to feel more successful is allowing yourself to feel successful now. It's to stop attaching your worthiness to external things, because there's always going to be another milestone. But how can you just start falling in love with the journey now? Because that's how you're going to live a really fulfilling life, by falling in love with the journey now. And maybe the things that you thought that you should have done by now or would have done by now, maybe those weren't actually things that lit your soul on fire and made your heart beat faster. Maybe they were just things that felt more draining, and it felt like something that you had to do. But who says? Who says you have to do it? Because you can literally create any life for yourself, and it's never too late to reinvent yourself. You get to reinvent yourself at any moment. You get to fall in love with yourself at any moment. You get to give yourself permission to do what you love. And if that looks completely different than how you've been told to by society, even better, because the things that society has told you to do will not actually give you happiness. They'll just give you more things to do, and then your to-do list will never end. So I hope that lands with you and gives you a different perspective on success, life, happiness, peace, joy. All right, next question. How will I know that my self-concept has changed? So your self-concept, you hear me say this all the time, is the overarching piece of transformation. So your identity holds everything. It holds your beliefs, it holds your actions, it holds your behaviors, and it holds your habits. So that's why you hear self-concept talked about so much in the manifestation community, because when you change your identity, everything else changes. Now, I always use the example because a lot of people have a hard time truly grasping the intangible things like manifestation and emotional intelligence work and identity work. So think about it when it's the beginning of the year and everyone's like, new year, new me, and I'm going to buy a gym membership, and I'm going to get healthy this year, and I'm going to buy some new workout clothes so that I go to the gym. Most of the time, 2 weeks in, those people have stopped going to the gym. Maybe they went to the gym once once, maybe they went 3 times, but typically that's it. That is it. And why is that? Because they're trying to change at a behavioral level. They have an identity of somebody who is not a healthy person. They have the identity of somebody who doesn't work out regularly, who isn't consistent with their health. And then they're trying to change their behavior by still having the same identity of somebody who isn't healthy, of somebody who doesn't take care of their health, of somebody who isn't consistent with moving their body. And so that ends up falling very quickly, the behavior of trying to be a healthy person, because they're trying to be a healthy person instead of moving it up to an identity level and changing their identity of being a healthy person. Because when you are a healthy person, it's not a question of, am I going to go to the gym today? It's not needing to force yourself to go to the gym. It's I work out. I go to the gym. I take care of my body. It's just what I do because it's who I am. For me, I started this whole personal development journey by starting with a wellness journey, because at 22 years old, I was diagnosed with celiac disease and I was at toxic gluten levels. And so I had to learn to cook for myself and I had to learn all of these things. I had played sports my entire life. I was always healthy, and then my bones were breaking. So my orthopedic literally took me out in 8th grade. And then I suffered a lot of mental health issues because I was no longer being active. And I'm somebody that really needs to be active to feel healthy. Physical health plays a very big role in our mental health. And so since then, since I was able to understand why my bones broke because of the celiac disease, I was able to start being healthy and going to the gym again, and understanding that like running and playing sports wasn't really something that I could do anymore, but I could still go to the gym. I could still work out. I could still do yoga. I could still do Pilates. And so it's like for so long now, for over a decade, in my mind, I have identified as a healthy person. So as a healthy person, I don't drink soda. As a healthy person, I don't eat fast food. As a healthy person, I don't eat processed food. As a healthy person, I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't smoke anything. As a healthy person, I barely drink alcohol. As a healthy person, I barely eat sugar. Every once in a while, I have a deep chocolate craving, but you know what I mean? I don't eat anything with added sugar in it. I look at the ingredients of everything that I eat. When I go to the market, I literally pick up every product and I look at it and I'm like, nope. If there's like a bunch of products that I cannot pronounce, nope. I put it down. I don't buy it. Would it be easier? Yeah, but I am not an unhealthy person. It isn't my identity, so I don't do unhealthy things. Does that mean I don't allow myself to live? And if I want ice cream, I don't eat ice cream? No. But because I'm healthy 98% of the time, 99% of the time, that 1% of the time when I want to order a pizza or I want to eat ice cream, I do. But do you see how if I was somebody that identified as an unhealthy person, I would drink soda all the time. I would eat fast food all the time. I would buy frozen foods. I would barely cook for myself. I wouldn't move my body a lot. I wouldn't go to the gym a lot. You can tell when your identity has changed because your identity is driving everything else in that area. So and I always use health because it's easy for you to understand. It's easy for you to like click because you can see it. You know what it looks like. You can see somebody walking down the street and you know whether they're a healthy person. You can see somebody walking down the street. Well, they're probably not walking down the street if they're an unhealthy person. But you know what I mean? Like if you were at the store, you could see somebody by how their body looked and what food was in their cart, whether they saw themselves and identified as a healthy person. If you identify as a wealthy person, then and that's actually locked in an identity level, then you wouldn't be complaining about money. You wouldn't be talking shit about rich people. You would be investing your money. You would be spending a lot of time on your mind. Wealthy people know they're their biggest return on investment. So they spend a lot of time reading, they spend a lot of time learning, they spend a lot of time in masterminds with people who have done what they want to do, with people that are building successful businesses, with people that have multiple businesses, with people that have personal brands. Wealthy people hang out in different circles than people that are poor. Wealthy people speak differently than people are poor. Wealthy people invest their money and their time way more intentionally than people that have a poverty mindset. Your identity is going to drive everything else in that area. If you have the identity of somebody who loves themselves, then you would not even entertain somebody that has a bunch of red flags. You wouldn't allow yourself to be in relationship, whether it's friendship, whether it's family, whether it is a love relationship, with somebody who is emotionally abusing you, with somebody who doesn't respect your boundaries, with people that are telling you that you're not good enough. Like, you just wouldn't accept that. You would be around people that have healthy relationships with themselves, and they can have a healthy relationship with you. You'd be around people that make you feel good. You'd be around people that do things for you and it's reciprocated, and you would do things for them. If you have a really low self-worth, then you would be like in relationship to yourself, so you don't really love yourself, then you would date anyone that you could get. Then you would be in a really toxic relationship. Then you would have really toxic friendship dynamics, family dynamics, dating dynamics. You would be always playing into a victim frequency. You wouldn't be taking care of yourself. You would just be wallowing out, playing woe is me. You'd be going out and binge drinking. You'd be smoking cigarettes. Like, do you see how your identity is literally driving everything in that area? So you'll notice when you have a new self-concept, because you have new standards, you have new behaviors, you have new actions, you have new thoughts. And there's also you've got very, very clear and strong non-negotiables. I always say to my clients and students, because boundaries and standards is something that I excel at. That is something that it's one of my zones of geniuses, because I came from a mother and a family on my mother's side that have no fucking boundaries. Like, they have none. And my mother still has no boundaries. She will never, my family will never learn boundaries. It is something that they will never have. So I had to learn what it was like to have boundaries. And now I'm so rock solid in them that I will never lower my boundaries or my standards. So you'll always hear me say, I model what it is like to be somebody who has high boundaries and high standards. And I will help anyone get to where I'm at, but I'm never going to lower my boundaries and my standards to meet you where you're at. When it is something that you identify with, it's not something that you consciously have to think about doing. It is who you are. It is how you do things. It is the way you speak about yourself. It is the way you speak in relationship to that area that you want to have a higher self-concept in. It is the way that you carry yourself day to day. It is in the relationships that you have with people. It is in everything. Like, your relationship with the identity that you have, you will see in every area of your life, because everything is a relationship, whether there's a person there or not. You have a relationship with food. You have a relationship with money. You have a relationship with yourself. You have a relationship with your home. Like, you have a relationship. If you're somebody that identifies as somebody that is very clean, then you don't have to think about and force yourself to clean your house. You just do it. I am somebody that is a very clean person. Was I always this way? No, I built this into me. And this is something that I need you to understand is you are building yourself in every moment. There is nothing predefined. You are building yourself by your choices. And something that you continue to choose to do is something that will be a habit and it will drop into your identity. So that means that, yes, I cook 3 times a day. And that means that I typically wash dishes 3 times a day. That means I sweep my floor every single day. That means I dust every single day. That means I fold my clothes and I do laundry probably like 3 times a week. That means that I wash my sheets every single week. That means that you know what I mean? Like it goes into everything. It's not something that I have to think about doing anymore because it's who I am. This is what it will be like for you. If it's still something that you have to consciously think about doing, then there's no shame or blame. Remember, we're not playing that game. That just means that if you're consciously thinking about having to do it, it's not in an unconscious level because your unconscious holds your identity. It holds your behaviors. It holds your habits. It holds your beliefs. And it holds your actions. So it's like when we want to change something about ourselves and we want to change our self-concept in an area, it requires a lot of conscious work. It requires us to notice the actions, the behaviors, the habits, the beliefs that we have to clean up. And then we spend a lot of time cleaning that up so that way we can embody a new frequency in our self-concept. And so it's like when you want to change an area of your life, you, instead of trying to change the behavior, like if I want to be a cleanly person, then I'm going to start washing my dishes. Okay, but let's take that a step deeper. If you were a cleanly person right now, and that's something that you identified as, what would your behaviors look like? What would your habits look like? What would your thoughts look like? What would your life look like? What would your identity look like? Because when you can start becoming the person who is a cleanly person rather than trying to clean, do you see how that's such a different frequency? So you can't not notice. Like it's blatantly obvious once your identity has changed in an area because you're no longer allowing the bullshit that you used to allow in your life. You've raised your standards, you've changed your actions, you've changed your habits, you've changed your thoughts, you've changed your way of being. So it's no longer I am trying to do this thing, it's I have become this person. And at that point, the game has changed. And if you want help with doing that, if you're like, you know what, like I get it, but like what are the tangible step by steps? I have a self-concept master course that literally walks you step by step by step by like doing this. So I walk you through every step of like getting clear on what your current self-concept is and then how you would change that from the thoughts that you think, from the actions that you take, from the feelings that you feel. So if you want to go deeper on that, I would highly recommend getting into that master course. It was supposed to be a master class, and then the first module was like an hour and a half in, and I was like, I'm not even close to being done with this. So it turned into a whole program that is available in the Alchemy of Manifestation University if you want to join the university, or you can get it as a standalone. But I hope you understand by that explanation how you like it's not going to be a question of if your self-concept has changed. Everything in your reality will have changed once you've changed your self-concept because it cannot be any other way. All right, next question. What can I do if I can't visualize? Now, this one I think is going to be a shorter answer, but y'all know me. I say it's going to be short and then I go off on a tangent. So, first of all, you're never saying that I can't. I don't allow you to play a victim frequency in my world. You literally are the creator of your reality. You can do anything that you want. But if you tell yourself that you can't do something, then you're commanding your unconscious mind to not do something for you. So your unconscious mind literally is a supercomputer that is there to, like, its prime directive. It exists to prove you right. It is your loyal servant. But if you don't master your mind will master you. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. So have you struggled with visualization in the past? Yeah, sure, maybe. Does that mean that you can't visualize? Fuck no. You can absolutely learn to do anything. And so it's like, you've got to be open, because if you have a fixed mindset, that's when you're telling yourself that you can't do something. But why can't you do something? Just because you couldn't do it at one time doesn't mean that you can't do it. At one time, you weren't able to write with a pen. Did you learn how to do it? Yeah. At one time, you weren't able to tie your shoes. Did you learn how to do it? Yeah. Do you see what I mean? Like, you, there have been times when you haven't been able to do something, but if you genuinely really wanted to do it, how did you learn to do it? You learned, right? So that means you tried and you tried and you tried. So I will say that some people definitely do have an easier time with visualizations as others. If you don't know, if you guys are new to my world, I honestly don't talk about this a lot, but I think I've talked about it on my podcast. And if you're in AOMU, I'm sure I've talked about it at one point. But I died when I was 19 years old. I had a drug overdose, and I won't get too into the story, but long story short, I was unconscious for 10 minutes and my death certificate was written. Because at that point, I was dead. Like, I wasn't breathing. I wasn't coming back. There was nothing they could do. They tried shooting me up with all these different things. I was dead. And so at that point, even if I had come back, which I wasn't, like, by the time I woke up, I was in a room full of people. I used to wear glasses. I had LASIK surgery. I couldn't see anything because I was nearsighted. And I just was in this room full of people and nobody was paying attention to me, to the point where I thought that I could run out of the room and like nobody would know because I needed to be somewhere. Long story. And anyway, the guy, like the nurse, saw me try and run out of the room, and I'll never forget this. He took his hand, and he pushed me down like wide-handed on my face. And he was like, "What did you take? You were dead." Da, 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 da. Like, everybody left me. Like, that's the point it was at. Like, nobody was trying to save me. And so if I had come back, if you look it up, if anybody's unconscious for 10 minutes, if they do come back, which is a very big if, they are in a comatose state, or they are a vegetable, or they have severe brain function. Now, I want to say for like 6 months after that, and I'm a highly intellectual and intelligent woman. So for 6 months after that, I think I cried myself to sleep every single night because I felt stupid. The part of my brain that when you wanted to think of something or you wanted to speak about something, that would like, I think about it in my mind like a claw. When you play that game where you want to get something and you drop the claw down and you try and get it. I felt like the retrieval mechanism in my brain when I would try and think of something, and like I wanted to be able to speak about it, or I wanted to use references, or I wanted to use the knowledge that was in my brain. Like, it was broken. It was like I could drop the crane down, but it wouldn't clasp onto anything. And so I felt like I was never going to be intelligent again. And I always, like, really, I come from a man who has like a certifiably genius IQ, and I was a straight A student. Like, the only like, I was raised to think like if you excelled at something, you did good. It wasn't about the effort you put in, it was about the grade that you got. It was about the results that you got. So I, like, my whole identity was shaken at that point because I thought that I needed to like excel at things in order to be good. And I was like, oh my God, I'm never going to be smart again. And it was really hard for me. But so I'm telling you all this because after that point, like, yes, I have obviously worked through any of the issues that I had. But the one thing that, like, my brain is still kind of broken towards is visualizing. It's something that I actually really struggle with since then. And so here's the deal. Have I ever told myself that I can't visualize? No. Have I admitted that visualization isn't my strongest strength? Yeah, but I never use it as a scapegoat for why I can't do it. I never tell myself I can't do anything, because I can do anything that I want to do. I can put anything that I put my mind to. Even me coming back, like being alive again, I felt like I had to relearn how to be a human. And I'm here, like, if I didn't tell anyone that story, nobody would ever know. You know what I mean? Like, I talk quickly. I have a lot in my brain. I'm always learning more. Like I've never let any experience or anything in my life, yeah, this is gonna be a long answer again. I've never let anything say that I couldn't do it. No one, nothing, not myself. I can do anything that I put my mind to. Does it mean that I might have to get creative and I might have to learn to visualize or whatever it is in a different way? Yeah, absolutely. But that's the thing, is it just means that you're going to have to practice it more. Just like with riding a bike. You couldn't ride a bike at one point, and now you can get on a bike and you could ride it. You know what I mean? Like you've got to practice it until you are better at it. So the thing that I always tell people to do if you're struggling with visualization is, what I want you to do is I want you to go online, go on Pinterest, go on Instagram, go on Google, whatever works best for you. And I want you to make a vision board, like go into Canva, make uh, a little picture, like if you follow me on YouTube, like the way that I do my YouTube thumbnails, make a collage. That's the word I was looking for. Make a collage of all of the things that you want to visualize. So and have it be specific, right? Like in one area. So if you want to visualize yourself with more money, then make a collage of that. If you want to visualize yourself traveling, make a collage of that. If you want to visualize yourself in a house, make a collage of that. But what I want you to do is I want you to find pictures, like actual pictures that represent the things that you want to manifest and that you want to visualize. And what I want you to do is I want you to train your brain to be able to visualize. So what that looks like is, so say you find a picture of your dream car. And so you now have that on your vision board, and what you're going to do is you are going to stare at that picture of that dream car, and you are going to stare at it for 30 seconds, a minute, however long it takes. There's no time frame on this, but like give yourself the time that you need. Don't try and rush yourself through this, because rushing through anything just adds pressure. But you're going to stare at that picture, like one picture at a time. And once you've stared at it, I want you to then close your eyes and I want you to see that picture in your mind. This is how you're going to train your brain and teach your mind to be able to visualize. It's going to be so difficult if you're already somebody who struggles with visualization to create an entire mental movie in your mind when it's hard for you to even see one thing. But if you can see something very, very specifically and very, very clearly, and you can see it so much so that like you're looking at it with your eyes open, and then don't move, close your eyes. And I want you to picture that exact image in your mind. Now, you have to use discernment, right? Like, I don't know exactly where you would be at. Like some people, once they do that, they're like, wow, Alexa, that was amazing. And I could see it right away. And that was super easy for me. Some people, it might take more time. But again, we're not rushing through it. But I want you to practice one image at a time, seeing that picture in your mind and moving through and doing that with every picture on that visualization or on that vision board. And then once you've done that, and again, give yourself time. Like if this takes a week, it takes a week. If it takes 6 months, it takes 6 months. Then what you're going to do is, then, now that you have seen all of the different pictures in your head, I want you to start playing them like a movie. So you've now seen the car. Can you now see yourself turning on the engine? Can you see yourself either putting the key in the ignition or see yourself pressing the start button? Can you see your hands on the wheel? And remember, so it's going to be harder to visualize something that you've never seen before. So once you've seen the picture of the car and you've gotten really crystal clear on it, don't try and make up a driveway that you've never seen before. Put that car in your driveway right now. Put that car where you already have, like, if you know what your driveway looks like, it's not hard for you to visualize that because you've seen it 1,000,001 times. It is hard to visualize something when you are trying to create it from scratch in your head. Just like if you were trying, think about when you do those paint a picture things. It's like, it doesn't matter if you're good at art or painting because you're literally just following, like, okay, green here, blue here, pink here. And then you get to the point where it's going to look like the picture because you created it piece by piece, right? But if somebody was like, just paint a picture of this thing, and you didn't have that picture in front of you, if you didn't have it mapped out, if you had no idea how to do it and painting wasn't something that you're good at, it would probably look like shit, right? But it's like, we're working smarter, not harder. Sometimes if you really struggle in an area, we might have to work a little harder, and that's okay. But it's like, how can you set yourself up for success? Don't sit there and try and visualize something when you know that visualization is something that you struggle with. Start seeing something that you desire and then start putting it in a place that you've already seen. It's going to be really difficult for you to visualize your dream home if, like, you've never seen it before. But if you are looking at a picture of your dream home and you're getting really crystal clear and you've got a picture of what your kitchen looks like in that home, and you keep seeing that picture and you close your eyes and you see that picture, picture enough times and it's going to get imprinted into your brain. Once you have the picture in your mind, then you can make it a movie. Then you can start playing it out. But you've got to be able to teach yourself this, just like how you learn to do anything. You had a lot of repetition, you had a lot of failure. It didn't go like smooth sailing, but it's like, you just have to take it one step at a time. But that means that you have to have a flexible mindset. That means that you have to be willing to learn. That means that you have to spend more time. That means that you have to build this characteristic in. You have to become somebody that can visualize. And it will take a lot of conscious effort. It will take some time. But you've got to just start doing it. So you've got to just say, I'm going to become somebody who can visualize. And then you've got to start doing it. But the best way that I have found in my personal experience and through my clients' experience is looking at actual photos and then seeing the photo and then closing your eyes and seeing the photo. You can even do that in your house. Like, see, your house is something that you've seen 1,000,001 times. Look at the entire room that you're in right now, and then from the perspective you're looking at, and then close your eyes and recreate it. Can you see that room that you've been in 1,000,001 times when your eyes are closed? And in order to do this, like, we can't tell ourselves that we can't do it, right? Because then, of course, we're not going to be able to, because that's the command to our unconscious mind. So it's like, I can do this. I'm willing to put some work in. I'm willing to put some effort in, and I'm going to be the person that can visualize. And so not everyone will have to do this. Like, some people might be really good at visualizing, but it's like, if you want to be able to visualize, you absolutely can, but you've got to tell yourself that you can. And then you need to have a really strong game plan of how you're going to do it, right? Okay, the next question is, please give me some action steps to take over the next 30 days to start moving from a quote unquote starving artist phase towards becoming a successful millionaire artist. What can I start doing right now? Thanks. All right, I love this question because this was a business question, and business questions are one of my favorite things to talk about. Now, you've heard me say this many times if you've been in my world, but manifestation is not a business practice. It's a life practice. You have to learn to build your business. So there is a build phase that you need to go through when you are building a business. So the way that I'm going to answer this question is a lot more strategic, especially because this person is looking for action steps. So if you are a business owner of any kind, this is something that I would recommend you doing. Regardless of whether you're not an artist, just, take the parts where I'm talking about artists and just apply it. But this is such an amazing question because this is a phase that a lot of people go through, especially if you're in the manifestation world. I feel like, and I know this happened for me too, when I got into the mindset world, there wasn't a lot. It became feminine energetics, and then there wasn't any tangible steps. And it was like, cool, yeah, I can think about being successful. I can visualize myself as successful, but what do I do? How do I actually get the ball rolling? And the reason why some people end up being way more successful, way faster, and the way they quantum leap into 6, 7, 8 figure months are the ones that take more action. You've got to fail forward. And a lot of people don't take enough action in business, and this is why they're not making the money that they desire. So yes, there's a mindset piece. Yes, there's an energetic piece. But when we talk about business specifically, there's a lot of fucking strategy. And if you're not applying the strategy, if you're not taking action, that's why you're not making the money that you desire. So the first thing that I want to say is stop calling yourself or identifying as a starving artist. I know that you put it in quotes, so you might not think of yourself as that, and that might just been a way for you to ask the question. But I just want to make sure that we're very clear that you're not calling yourself that. You've been programmed to believe that the starving artist, I can't speak anymore. You've been programmed to believe that the starving artist archetype exists, but it doesn't have to. If anything, an artist is giving their heart online to use their gifts to help the collective. This is of high service. You deserve to be paid for your work, and you deserve to be paid well for your work. You've got to start embodying a new frequency when it comes to your work, seeing it as valuable, seeing yourself as valuable. That is the mindset and identity and energetic piece. So now you also need to take action, taking action as your successful self. And that means you need to be creating your art and selling your art. So that's primarily what you're going to focus on for the next 30 days. So right now, I want you to ask yourself, do I have any art that I can sell right now? If you're not an artist, then I just want you to insert whatever you do. Do you have something that you can sell right now? If not, then you need to create art to sell. You need to have something to sell in order for you to have a business. If you do not have anything to sell, you do not have a business. And even if it's not a tangible product, if you just have services, you need to have a service to sell. You need to have something to sell, or you do not have a business. So if you do, then you need to start selling your art. You need to start selling. You cannot sell enough. So we live in a digital era, and the way that you are going to sell your art, gain exposure, attract customers, and make money is through social media. I don't care what you do as a business owner, what your business is, your second archetype that you are embodying, it's business owner, and then the second one is content creator. I don't care what you're doing, you need to be creating content so that way you're making money. If you are not leveraging the free platform that is social media for you to gain exposure, build a brand, and make money, you are leaving money on the table. We do not live in an era where you need to be going out and putting posters up, or you need to be giving your business card out to people. Yes, of course, when you are out and about, make sure if you're running into anyone and they ask what you do, you tell them that you're an artist, like make it so people can easily know. But primarily, you are going to be creating content so that way you can sell your art. So the next thing you need to ask yourself is, do I have a social media platform where I am selling my art? If so, you need to double down on selling. You need to sell on there every single day. Every single day. You need to be creating 3 pieces of content a day for the next 30 days. You need to create 3 pieces of content every single day for the next 30 days. Period. There is no, oh, I don't feel like it. No. If you are in the starving artist archetype, you need to start moving. You need to take more action. You need to make more art, and you need to sell more, and you need to create more content. That is what you are going to be doing. Eat, sleeping, breathing, selling art, and creating content to sell your art specifically. So when you are doing that, you really need to get comfortable creating content and selling your art. A lot of people, especially when you're more creative and more artistic, is they have a problem with the business aspect. They don't know how to sell. They don't know how to market themselves. And it's like, That's not an option. When you are running a business, especially at the beginning of your business, when you don't have help, you wear every single hat. And if you're not comfortable selling your products, then people aren't going to be comfortable buying them. And if you don't sell your products and let people know that you have products, no one's going to buy from you because they don't know that you have products for sale. So because you are a creative though, and you are an artist, then get creative with how you are selling your art, aka get creative with your social media. Your social media, each and every single content needs to be showing off your brand. It needs to be showcasing your zone of genius. Your content should be super intentional. It should be showing off what you do. Now, that can look like, if you're a painter, that could look like you filming yourself painting the art. That could be getting really really losing my voice now. That could be you getting really creative with the angles that you're using while you are, showing your art up close. I don't care how you're doing it, but you need to fall in love with creating content because this is part of your brand. This is part of your business. And if you're not doing this, you are not going to be making enough money. The reason why people in business don't make enough money, especially when they're new in business, is they aren't creating enough products to sell. They aren't selling their products and they aren't getting their voice out there. Every single piece of content is a way for you to market yourself and a way for new people to find you. And it is so easy to blow up on social media. Do not go into it like this is a saturated market. Bull fucking shit. No market is saturated. There is no market that is saturated. Do not go into it with that mentality. You need to be creating art. And here's the thing, right? Like creating multiple pieces of art, because you're not going to create content off of the same piece of art, right? If you're an artist, you have pieces to sell. You don't have one piece, because then what happens when that one piece is gone? Now you have nothing to sell. Now you no longer have a business again. Products for sale equals money that can come in. No products for sale, no money can come in. So even though you're a creative, you need to double down on the fact that you need to see yourself as a business owner, and business owners have products. They market themselves. They sell every single day. If you think that you're selling too much, you're not selling enough. You're not selling enough. The psychology of sales is somebody needs to see something 7 times before they buy. Now, if you're uncomfortable with content, the best way for you to become comfortable with creating content is to create more content. If you've never created any content before, you've got to start learning. And here's the thing is the content doesn't need to be perfect, but it needs to be put out there. Stop trying to make your content perfect, because perfectionism is self-sabotage. You need to produce content, produce art. It doesn't need to be perfect. The content, you might be a little more specific about your art, but don't get too in your head where you're not putting things out there because you need them to look perfectly. You need to set yourself up for success, which means you're gonna have to build momentum in your business. If there is a day where you don't feel like creating, you got to do it. The thing is you need to get yourself into a different identity. You need to get yourself into the embodiment of a successful artist. What does a successful artist do? They make art and they sell their art for a good price. Another thing is do not sell your art for super cheap because you need money. Sell your art for what it's worth. Do not undersell yourself, because then if you do find clients, they are always going to expect that you undercharge. Your free content is a way for people to understand and get to build the like, know, trust factor, so that way you are attracting them into your world. You need to create more content because that is attraction marketing. You're not going out and cold DMing people. You're not going out and walking with your art on the streets. You are creating art and people are getting magnetized towards you. If you feel like you have no idea how to create content, then I want you to, on whatever platform feels best, whether it is TikTok, whether it is Instagram, whether it is YouTube, I want you to study and look at what other artists are doing, because you will get inspired. As a creative, you have inspiration. So if you can't inspire yourself, then you're going to look at what other people are doing. Do not copy other people directly, but get inspired by what they're doing, get ideas. Because if you sit there in your head all day trying to figure out, how do I create content? How do I make this? You're not going to do anything. But if you start looking at what other people are doing, you're going to get an idea like, oh my God, wouldn't it be cool if I did it this way? Oh my God, I love what they're doing. And this is how I could apply that to my brand. Like, use what people are already doing to help inspire you. You do not need to reinvent the wheel, but you got to set the wheel in motion. You've got to start moving. The most consistent thing that I see when people aren't making enough money in their business is they aren't selling their products, they aren't marketing themselves, they aren't creating enough content, they aren't actually selling to people. Like, tell people you have shit for sale. Make sure people know you have shit for sale. Social media is not for your friends and family. If you are a business owner, social media is your storefront. Sell, 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 sell. If people don't like it, they won't follow you. But if your art is good enough, people will follow you even if they don't want to buy at the moment. The other thing that I would say to this is you need to then ask yourself, do I have a way that I can accept payments? How are people paying you? If somebody finds you today and they want to buy that piece of art, do you have a website? Is it linked in your bio? Are you using PayPal? Are you using Stripe? Do you have a payment processor already established? If not, you need to create one. No excuses. It is free for PayPal. It's free for Stripe. While I do not encourage you using that as a payment processor forever, I always encourage you to have a website if you're a business owner, so that way you look legitimate. If you are in a financial crunch right now, then do not pay for a website, but you need to have a free payment processor. You need to be able to send people a link if they say they want to buy. You need to put that link in your bio so people can click and they can buy from you without having to talk to you. But you need to be able to have products for sale. You need to have content so people know that you've got products for sale. People can see it. People can get to know your style of art. And then you need to have a link. And for the next 30 days, you are going to be creating art, selling art, creating content, posting content. Literally, you are going to be living and breathing almost every minute of every day, creating art, creating content, posting content, selling art, eat, breathe, sleep, repeat. There's no room for any flexibility, for any laziness, for any inconsistency. You are a business owner and you need to embody that archetype more than the creative right now. You can be creative while you are selling yourself and while you are creating the content, but you need to get comfortable in showing up like you're a successful artist, selling like you are an artist that's successful, so you're selling powerfully. You need to be comfortable selling. And the only way you're going to get comfortable is by selling. The only way you're going to get good at creating content is by creating. So, and the way that your art's going to get better is by making more art. So you need to double down. You don't have time to go fuck around and like during this time. You need to start building the momentum so that way you can actually become successful and you can become successful quickly. Do not allow yourself to get stuck in a rut or stuck in some comfort zone. No, I get that there's ebbs and flows as a creative. You're normally an emotional authority in human design, but here's the deal. You need to put the pedal to the metal for the next 30 days, and everything you're going to be doing is focused on selling. Take some time to like relax and wind down for like an hour a day and an hour in the morning. Make sure you get some movement in. Make sure you get outside and breathe some fresh air. Make sure you're hydrating yourself. Make sure you're eating well. But every other moment of every day for the next 30 days, if you are not creating art, if you're not creating art, it's because you're creating content. If you are not selling your art, it's because you're marketing and content. Like everything you're going to be doing for the next 30 days is either creating content, creating art, posting the content, or selling your art. Like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you do not have a social media platform where you are currently selling your art, you need to create one tonight. The second you are done listening to this message, I don't care that it's Friday. Get to work. And do you see how like the answers, people want business. So laid back and feminine energetics. Bull fucking shit. When you're successful, you can lean back a little bit. Until you get to that place, you've got to show the fuck up. And a lot of people won't build the momentum because they aren't going to show up enough. And the way you're going to actually create and embody the new self-concept of the millionaire artist is by doing this. And trust me, you will be light years ahead of other people, and you will be light years ahead of where you are right now if you do this, because I guarantee you aren't being consistent enough. You aren't being confident enough in your art. You aren't being confident enough in yourself. You aren't selling confidently. You aren't putting it out there. Do not be afraid to sell. You cannot be afraid to sell and be a business owner. And if you are interested, if anyone in here is a business owner and you want support with this, I highly, highly encourage you getting into my business membership. This is why Unapologetic, my business membership, exists separately from AOMU, because in AOMU, we've got more lean back, more mindset, more energetic, more universal laws, personal development, healing conversations. Business is a different beast. Went to school for business. I have a degree in business, and I worked for the New York State government in the business sector for 8 years. You cannot fuck around and find out in business. You got to lean in and go, 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 go. I also have a 2-week short-term mentorship option right now that is super limited spaces. But if you want access to that, you can go and book it on my website. It's only $800, which is fucking insane. It's $1,800 off of what you would normally pay to work with me for 2 weeks. So if anybody wants to book that, if anybody is an aspiring business owner, or if they are not where they want to be yet, or if they want to be making more money, then I would highly encourage you to either join Unapologetic, or you can book that 2-week of mentorships with me, and you will get audio notes like this with me for 2 weeks, Monday through Friday, and you get tech support. So you basically have me in your pocket. So if you need help with content creation, if you need help with selling, if you need help with marketing, if you need help with creating products, services, like, this is one of my favorite fucking topics. And as you can see, the frequency of this is a hell of a lot different than any other question, because this is specifically for business owners. And if you've been thinking about having a business, like, these are the thoughts that you need to be thinking about. These are the questions that you need to ask. These are the steps that you need to be taking. Okay, next question. Can I use just one method to manifest? So you guys have heard me say this before. If you've been in my world, I say this all the time. Methods don't manifest. At the end of the day, a manifestation method is just a tool that you use to help you change your energetic state, for you to be able to play with different tools that are available for you, different methods that are available for you. But at the end of the day, it isn't the method that's manifesting. What's manifesting is who you are. It's the beliefs that you have, and it's the feelings that you're in all day long, because your brain has predetermined thoughts that have been programmed into it since you were born, and your body is also programmed to feel a certain frequency because of the fact that your feelings and your thoughts are a feedback loop. So they are always manifesting. Your unconscious is always manifesting. So at the end of the day, the way that you actually are able to manifest your desires with ease is to reprogram your unconscious mind so that way it's in alignment with it. If you have full belief in an area and you believe that you can manifest something, that's when it comes instantaneously. So that's why in the traditional law of attraction teachings, like The Secret, they told you to manifest a parking spot. Why is that? Because if you drive, you know that getting a parking spot in a first row place is something that's possible for you. It's something that you're like, yeah, that could happen. It's happened to me before. You have evidence that it could happen. You don't typically, like, while, yeah, it'd be cool to get a front row parking spot, you've gotten so used to the fact that it doesn't always happen. And sometimes you have to park in the back and, like, whatever, it's just what it is. So you don't have this high emotional charge that's causing resistance against getting the parking spot because of the fact that it's happened to you before. It's like, whatever. If it happens, it's cool. If not, whatever. It doesn't truly affect your day. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you still got to go to the store. You're still going to where you're going. You're just going to walk a little further, and getting extra steps really isn't the worst thing ever. So that's why they taught you to practice that, because it's like that's something that you can collect evidence of that it works. That's why my latest masterclass is called Evidence Bank, because I always say your mind uses past evidence to create your future moments, because it's always existing to prove you right. And that's why I always say put new evidence in your evidence bank, because you are just collecting evidence. You're either collecting evidence unconsciously of what you've always experienced, or you're choosing to consciously collect new evidence. So at the end of the day, you really just need to be honest with where your beliefs are at and where your feelings are at in relation to the thing that you want to manifest. If it is something that you have no emotional charge with, if it is something that is normalized and neutral to you in your mind and in your body, if it's something that you believe is possible for you, that's when you can easily and instantaneously manifest it. It is when you have a high emotional charge. It is when you have a lot of limiting beliefs, and you know that you have a lot of limiting beliefs in an area because you have a lot of stories in your mind, and when you speak out loud about it, that reaffirm the beliefs that you have. So not only do you not believe that you can get that thing or receive that thing quickly or easily, you also have a lot of evidence, aka stories, because our stories are typically based on past experiences of how this is going to go for you. So it's like, if you're in an area where there's no resistance and there's no limiting beliefs, okay, cool, proceed. There's no need to even have a method. But if you're in an area, say money or love, because those are typically the two most highly programmed things, and you have a lot of limiting beliefs in those areas, you have a lot of stories, you have a lot of past experiences to be proving the experiences that you had, the stories that you had, the beliefs you had, like it's all making you right. And so you have to realize that if there's an area where you're struggling and it's starting to feel daunting doing the reprogramming work or doing the emotional intelligence work and feeling differently about it, because it's an area that's highly programmed, then it's like, well, a manifestation method can be helpful because it makes it more fun. So it's just a tool, so that way you can kind of play the game differently. Because if you think about this life as one big virtual reality, and you just get to play the game, like you get to decide what game you're in, you get to decide how it goes for you, you get to decide what happens, like you get to decide. But a lot of the times the decisions you're making aren't from something that you actually want to experience. It's a decision excuse me, it's a decision that you're making because someone or some experience or something made you feel like that's the way it had to be. So at the end of the day, while manifestation methods can be fun and can be helpful just to change your energy to be more fun and more excited about playing the game, it's not the manifestation method that's going to manifest. It's you taking honest inventory of where you're actually at in relationship to the thing that you want to manifest, with your beliefs and with your feelings, and saying, do I actually believe this? From a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being like, don't believe at all, where am I at? And then realizing that the closer you are to the 10, the more unconscious reprogramming work you have to do. And the more during your conscious waking moments, you need to be very, very diligent of your mental diet, and you need to be very, very conscious of the words that you are saying out loud and the self-talk that you have all day long. Because then you can start, or unless you're able to, like we talked about before, going deeply into the self-concept work. But self-concept work, mindset work, emotional intelligence work, those aren't methods. That is the actual personal development work that is required to actually do the manifestation work, to be able to manifest anything. But it's like it's the inner work that's going to manifest, because you can either embody the self concept of that version of yourself right now, who has it, who it's effortless for, who it's easy for, who everything always works out for, who money works out for, who love work out for, who they're the luckiest person in the world. Like, if you can go right into playing into a different identity, then go for it. Like, amazing. That would be the best thing to do. But most people can't sustain that, because most people have programmed them to be who they've been. And so in order to get to who they desire to be, they have to clean up the energetic, emotional, and mental gunk that's causing resistance and causing a gap from who they desire to be. So I think too many people, because of TikTok specifically, have put manifestation methods on a pillar, because they're losing track of the fact that people that are creating content are, yes, creating content to help you, or yes, creating content to educate you, or like whatever their intention is behind it. But if they're also someone who sells digital products or has digital services, or if they're using social media to sell their products, which they should be if they're a business owner. But I think users that aren't business owners sometimes are like, oh my God, there's so many methods, like, da da da, I have to do this one and then this one. It's just too much. Can I just stick with one? And it's like, you don't need any of them. It's just people are they're out of ideas. They need original content to make. They need to try and make something new. They can't say the exact same thing in every video. So it's like the creator is just trying to create more videos, and doesn't mean that more methods are needed. It doesn't mean that any of the methods are needed. If you just focused on the unconscious reprogramming work or the self-concept work, depending on where you're at in the journey, you would manifest. If you want to play games and have more fun with this whole virtual life thing, then yeah, use the tools, use a tool. But don't use the tool in place of the work, because that will never work. And that's where a lot of people go wrong in manifestation. They're like, oh, well, they're just telling me to do this tool or this tool. Or the thing that lately is like, do this experiment, test the universe. What? No, if you're testing the universe, you don't believe. You don't believe that you can get it. Because if you believe that you could get it, you wouldn't spend your time wasting your time experimenting and testing the universe. You would just know that you could manifest it. So you'd be moving like the version of yourself that had it. So it's about cleaning up where you're at mentally, emotionally, and within your identity. And when you do that, that's when you manifest. But just, you have to use discernment, because I don't know exactly where you're at on the journey. But like, just from that answer, that's what I'd say. But like, figure out where you're at in between those two, between like, really need to do a lot of unconscious reprogramming work, and then like go back to voice memo 1, where I drop that all out for you. You can get into Reprogram Yourself, where I teach you how to do it. You can get into AOMU, where I go through a lot of this, all of it. But you got to figure out where you're at the journey, and don't let all of these manifestation tools and social media distract you from actually doing the work that's going to change who you're being, so that way you can manifest a new reality. Because it's just a bunch of noise. Sometimes it's too much. You got to just do the inner work, and that's what's going to move the needle forward. Okay, next question, which honestly, I feel like the last question answered this, but it is, does feeling good, expanding my awareness, and appreciating myself create my reality? So I went really deeply into how manifestation works, essentially, and that is what creating your reality is, right? Like, that's just, it's synonymous, it's another term. So you want to do everything that I just said. So if you didn't listen to the first or to the last question, then listen to that answer again, because that one will really support you through this. And that's the essential, like, basics, like that's manifestation 101 in an 11-minute voicemail. So voice note. So that's how you create your reality. And feeling good, there's a lot of people that are like, you just need to be high vibe all the time. And that's not it, right? Because we are humans, we're having a human experience and human design. 53% of the population has an emotional authority, including myself. And that means that we're literally riding this emotional wave up and down. And so feeling good isn't realistic. Like you can't always be feeling good. So it's about doing the mindset work to rewire your mind and doing things to make you feel better and doing the work so that way you can actually feel better. Like you feel better after you work out, you feel better when you go for a walk, like when you're moving your body, when you're eating healthy, and then like do things that are fun, have enjoyment. Yes, like do all of that as much as possible, but also when a negative emotion, which is just a lower frequency emotion, comes up, it's not about trying to shame ourselves for having that emotion. It's about, or like to force toxic positivity and say that we feel good when we don't. It's about exploring that and looking at, is there a belief or a story that I'm telling, or like a story that I'm telling about my reality and the current circumstances that is making me feel this way? Like, does it feel like it's a natural ebb and it's just like it's a time for you to get more creative, to go more inward when you're on the low of your emotional wave? Or is it like you're telling yourself negative stories and you feel like you're limited in your circumstances, so that way you're not feeling good? That's when we want to use our emotions as guidance and let us know whether we're really on track or not. So you're not always going to be feeling good, but understand when you have power and control and when it's just your thoughts that are making you not feel good, because they are so tied together in that feedback loop. Expanding your awareness, it's, yes, that will help you to see things differently. Like that's a great tool that they use in NLP a lot, like perspective shifts. So it's like expanding your awareness to have a different perspective is great. And, you know, having a higher view perspective of things, being able to see things with more compassion and love, and witnessing people and things that happen in the world, like, yeah, that's great, but that's not honestly that necessary when it comes to manifestation. I mean, unless it's a limiting belief that you're trying to change your perspective of, so that way you can change your beliefs on, like, that can be helpful in that lens, but it isn't necessarily, expanding your awareness isn't actually going to help you to manifest, like, unless you're choosing to look at things differently. You know what I mean? And then for appreciating yourself, I'm just breaking this down in these three sections just because, like, I covered how to create your reality, but just because you mentioned these three things. And then appreciating myself, like, that is self-worth, and that is showing that you do have a self-concept about yourself. So it's like a good self-concept about yourself. So it's like, yes, you should be appreciating yourself. Yes, you should be loving yourself. Yes, you should be saying kind things to yourself. You should be thinking kind thoughts. You should be saying good things about yourself, just because, like, abracadabra, what you're saying manifests, like what you're thinking manifests. So that all does create your reality too, but it's like, that's something that you kind of cover when you're doing the mindset work. So yeah, it's really important to have a good self-concept and to make sure you're doing really in-depth mindset work, because ultimately it's the mindset work and the self-concept work that are really, the two main themes in manifestation, because everything else kind of falls under them. But I would say, just to reiterate the last answer, you want to make sure that your beliefs are in alignment and your feeling state is in alignment with the thing that you want to manifest. And then the other thing that I'll say with that is, sometimes, like I said before, are you feeling a certain way because you've been programmed and conditioned to feel that way based on your reality and your life experiences? Because if that's the case, you can do a visualization, you could do a guided meditation, you could do, a hypnosis, and then feel better and practice what I call future orientation, which is called future pacing in NLP, is to practice embodying the future version of yourself. Because when you can visualize the future version of yourself and see them, how they're living, how they're going through life, then, you can start getting into the kinesthetic feeling too and feeling like they feel. And so you're training your body to vibrate at a higher frequency, to feel differently, which expands, your aura and the frequency and the vibration that you're on. And so like that does help with the point of attraction, because your heart is the electromagnetic force field that is manifesting. So it's like, that's just where emotional intelligence comes in, though. You have to know, like, whether this is like, are you processing something? Or are you going through something and you're allowing yourself to like process it and go through it and realizing that you can like move through emotions quickly? Or is it something that is just like a state that you've been programmed into that you need to program yourself out of? And that's why basically all of my visualizations pretty much are future self visualizations, because I think that's the most powerful way to really associate with your future self. So that way you can think that way, speak that way, you can see them like that, you can feel how they're feeling. Because sometimes we tell ourselves that we don't know how to feel the way we would feel if we had the thing. But it's just not that, it's just that we're so unfamiliar with feeling that way that it's almost like our body just can't remember that frequency. It just can't remember how to get there. It's not that it can't get there. It's just that sometimes we need to remind ourselves. Just like if there was a song you used to listen to back in the day and you used to know all the words to, but you don't like really remember them anymore. If you listen to it a few times again in a short period of time, you would have all the words down again, because the majority of it's programmed in there. Like it's in there somewhere, but it's just like on a dusty shelf, and it just hasn't been used in a while. So it's like you've got to train your body to remember that feeling, so that way you can actually feel that way now. Because a lot of people wake up every day and they feel depressed, they feel lethargic, they feel low energy, like before they master like the manifestation work and everything. And it's like a lot of the time, if they change their beliefs, if they change their stories, if they changed who their avatar is in this game of life, and they were actually feeling differently and moving differently and thinking differently and speaking differently, like, which is indication of the self-concept work showing that you've embodied like a fully new avatar self-concept. That's like that's the ideal spot to be in. Like those are the people that can just wake up and train themselves to go from, not feeling great and all of those things, but then they train themselves to become this new version of themselves that can feel all of these different feelings that are just at a higher frequency. So it's like, I just wanted to say that because I think there's a lot of misconceptions on the whole like feeling good thing in manifestation, and that you like misconception that you have to feel good all the time. And also like the misconception of, I don't know how to feel how I want to feel. If that's a thing that comes up for you, then that's when I would highly encourage you to listen to any of the visualizations and like any of the programs. If you're in AOMU, you can just go through, there's visualizations in multiple programs. If you want to just buy one of my visualizations off the website, I do actually have an International Women's Day sale going on right now. If you use the code all capital for the babes, you can save 20% on the shop. So if there was a visualization you wanted to buy, you can get it off of there. But start training yourself to feel differently. Don't try to fake positivity. Like actually look at your emotions when they come up, see if they're valid, see if there's something to them, work through it. And when there's not, like, and it's just a kind of like state, then like do the work to be able to train yourself to feel differently. So that way, what I call, you're recoding your cellular DNA to feel differently, to vibrate higher, to hold more energy. And by doing all of these things with what I said in the last question, like that's how you would create your reality without adding more complexity to it. Like, honestly, the first answer would be sufficient enough for creating your reality. But if that is something that you were worrying about or wondering about with feelings, that's what I would say in regards to that. Okay, next question is a totally different vibe because this is actually a mentorship question, whereas everything else that I've answered so far has been a coaching question. And in my opinion, just so you know what the difference is, to me, a coach is somebody that really handles the what and the how to questions. It's really about the steps of doing it. It's really about like what is the implementation needed? Like what are the things that I have to do? What do I have to know? And so coaches typically stay in that lens of answering those type of questions and supporting people with that journey. Where mentorship and people that are mentors, where I find is that they have typically been doing the coaching thing for a longer period of time, or they have a greater expertise in the area and a great expertise in the area of which they are mentoring on. And because of that, people typically come to them to ask them questions about who they are when they do the things. So this is common, and I'll just to give you an example, if you're like I don't know that I understand the difference. When someone is starting a business, they typically need to know a lot of the how to questions, like what do I do, how do I do it, where do I do it, when do I do it. Those are, and of course it's way more detailed than that, but like that, you get what I'm saying, is just like those are the questions that get asked. And then when it's a mentorship level, it would be somebody that is a little more practiced in business. They've been in business for a little more time. And so they know the what, how, the why, the where, the when. But what they need nailing now is the who. Because there gets to a certain level where you have all the structures and strategies in place. And then you need to really work more on the embodiment and who you're being, behind the scenes, and and so you're asking so the people are asking you a lot of questions about like who were you, like who were you when you were building this point in your business, like how did you navigate when this happened in your business, what what did you do when this happened and then this happened, how, like who were you while this was happening, how did you navigate this personal thing and this business thing. So it's really about like the person they are. And the person is at a deeper level that's asking, and the person just handles more questions. Every once in a while do coaching things come up, yes of course, but that's what I want to just let you know. You're new to the space between like what's a coach and what's a mentor, because you'll see I call myself a mentor because I answer both questions. Like, so it's varied for me. But so I just want you to know that's like the level that you're at. So the fact that you asked this question, just like, I love this, because this means that you've probably been in the game for a minute, or you're just like, or you might not have been aware. But like, this is a great question. So I've babbled for long enough. I'll just get into the question. What caused you to start your journey with this line of work? NLP, hypnosis, tapping modalities. In other words, how were you introduced? So, just because it's asking about me specifically, it wasn't like a how to or what. All the questions are great, but there's just a different frequency because you're more curious about the person who did it, because there's a lot of clues. There's a reason why they say success leaves clues. And there's a reason why people that are very successful in life and business typically have mentors because of that. Um, so anyway, I worked for the New York State government, and I was there for a few years, 2 years, and I realized that I was getting really depressed and miserable. Working in a cubicle was just like, I felt just like a slave to like literally my desk, and I was just so miserable. And I noticed that everyone around me was really miserable too. And I was really great at my job, but I just like it just felt like it was sucking my soul out. And I was somebody, because I didn't know I was a manifesting generator, but I'm multi-passionate. So I really like many things. And I like and me personally, because I am just like, I have a very intelligent brain. Like I like problems, I like challenges, I like to keep learning. Like like I'm always going deeper, learning more, and like about various things. And that's very coded in my energetic DNA with my human design. Um, but so I was there's got to be something to this. Like there's got to be a way to how can I find my path, but like how can I feel better while at least while I'm on this path? Because I get that I might not be able to leave right now, but I need to figure out like what I want to do because this isn't it. And I funny always said like I would own my own business one day. I just didn't know what I wanted it to be yet. So I always said I was just going to learn business from New York State government because if you knew it from that side, it felt like you can navigate anything. And it was a very valuable experience. I know a lot, especially about business in the state of New York. Like I know a lot. But so I like that was my question is like, but like I'm miserable. These people are miserable. Everyone is just like drinking and alcoholics because they not like at work, but like when they get out because it's just so miserable. And I was like, I can't do this for the rest of my life. Like 30 years, like, ugh. And so I could just never land on what I wanted to do though, because one thing just never felt good. Like I just wanted to, and it was because I realized now, like I never saw this growing up. I never saw people that mentored and digital wasn't really a thing. Like online coaches weren't a thing. The digital learning space wasn't a thing. YouTube was around back then, but it was like the YouTube makeup era, like makeup vlog era. So I wasn't on that side of YouTube yet. And so that was when podcasts came out though. And for whatever reason, I was like, I'm going to try and listen to podcasts instead of music. And I don't know. So I got this hint to start a podcast and I started a podcast, but I had no idea what I wanted to talk about. And I realize now, like looking back, is I started that podcast, like I followed the ping from the universe, even though it made no fucking sense. Like, what am I talking about? I don't know. And I think I put like one or two podcasts up and I found this one podcast who I don't know if it's still around. Like I don't listen to it anymore. Haven't in years, but it was a podcast where two girls would like interview a bunch of health and wellness people and spiritual people and all the things. And so I just I found myself getting into all these topics and I found out what personal development work was. And I was always studying my mind because it came from a very traumatic background and I was always doing work on myself, but it was like at this point at 25 I realized that I really needed a change. I was so unfulfilled. So as a manifesting generator, satisfaction is what is my signature in human design. It's really what I seek. And frustration is the not self theme. So when I'm out of alignment, and it's like I'm specifically as a manifesting generator meant to really be satisfied in my work because I really thrive in work. I am someone that loves to work. But if I don't love what I'm doing, if the work environment is very negative or toxic, not even like negative, it's a toxic environment, which the government was, like it drains my life force energy, literally. So I found personal development and I started listening to all these audiobooks and then I found digital programs and then I found all of these mentors and coaches and I was like, holy shit, this whole new world opened up. There really wasn't that many coaches at the time, but I just found like all of these different people doing personal development work and I felt so much better and I felt more energized and I felt more excited because I was always healthy, but like I just wasn't happy. And so I was like, how can I just like learn to be happy? And I remember I was creating a digital program because I was like, this is bomb. This is what I want to do. I love taking pictures. I love editing. I love content. I always knew there would be something with content. I just didn't know what. I thought I had to build a personal brand and then a business. And then it was like, no, like I needed to go deeper into shadow work, which I had really actually been doing my whole life. I just didn't have the language for it. And then I said to myself, like, I wanted to put EFT tapping because I was creating a program. Actually, it's on my website called Holistic Wellbeing Workshop, and it's like a 77-page, like health and mindset type of thing because I was a wellness coach. That's what I was gonna do because I loved cooking and I'm gluten free and I'm plant based. So I had a vlog for a little bit where I would post, or a blog where I would post recipes. And I used to be called Alexa Ray Wellness. That was the first name that I went with. And I was a wellness and mindset coach. And if you're in the AOMU, you can get Holistic Wellbeing Workshop. It should be in there somewhere. I have no idea where, but it should be in the membership. So yeah, I wanted to put EFT tapping in that program. No fucking idea how to create a digital program. I was just winging it. I'd only ever been like live on a Zoom call. Like when COVID happened and everybody had to freak out and figure out how to use Zoom, I had already been using Zoom for like live coaching calls with mentors and coaches for at least a year and a half. Like I became a junkie like on personal development work. I loved it. I took any program I could. I took any course that I could. I started listening to other people's podcasts. I started learning deeper about money and the energetics of money, and all of the different modalities like came up through one of the podcasts because I listened to like a lot of personal development podcasts. Like the amount of time I've spent listening to personal development podcasts or books or reading like audiobooks, and then actually physically reading them and studying on the internet, then watching YouTube videos when I realized that like that was a thing as well. Like it wasn't just makeup. So I went really deep, and then I said, I want to find somebody. I literally thought, it was just a thought. It was like the most simple thought it once, and then boom, the next day she was there. I wonder if I could find, like, I want someone to teach me how to do EFT tapping better because I just had a hard time articulating it. I was so new because I was like baby Alexa looking back. That was like 4 years ago, I think. Yeah. Well, by the time I left to launch my business 4 years ago. This is way sooner than that, maybe like 7 years ago. I was like, that's not right. Anyway, so I said that I wish that I could just have somebody like, I want to learn EFT tapping. And the next day, I swear to God, found a post by a woman who had a certification that was a life, what was it? It was neurolinguistic programming, hypnotherapy, emotional freedom techniques, time techniques, which is like a part of neurolinguistic programming, which I do teach you. I give you in the visualization in Reprogram Yourself, that I walk you through that technique. And it was life and success coaching. And I was like, well, shit, okay. And I just didn't know how I was going to swing it because personal or people that work at the government, they make no money, like no money, public servants. So I just like, all right, like let's do this. And I invested in that coaching program, and then I like learned all of these things, and I've just been in the world, submersed in the personal development work, the spiritual work, the shadow work, which I was always very spiritual. I always did very spiritual work. Like I actually, when I was 16, had my spiritual awakening, like fully. I was always kind of like on the woo side though, just because I'm an Aquarius sun I'm on with the Pisces cusp. So like I like otherworldly weird things. Like I was always like into that. So I was always spiritual. I was always studying my mind. I loved the mind. I was always fascinated with it. But it was like once I found all of these different modalities, and I felt that they really shifted me, and they really made me be able to navigate like working in a really toxic environment, and like being a way better version of myself and feeling happier, and being able to navigate being in that working experience, and like having healthy habits and having a healthy diet, and like really becoming this new version of myself that I, didn't even know was possible. I didn't know it was like, I was able to feel better. That's what really pushed me into mindset and wellness, was because like once I went on my wellness journey and I realized how intricate your health is, like what you're eating and what you're drinking and what you're watching, like all of it, consumption and every level, like how much it truly affects you. And that no matter what you went through, because I've gone through a lot of trauma, you can really heal it and you can really feel differently and you can really like challenge yourself to become anyone you want to be. And I learned human design and I studied that for like 5 years, and I just went deep into all the things because I love learning about all of the different tools. Like I'm somebody that likes to have a lot of tools in my arsenal. And that's why if you've ever sat on a live with me, people are typically like sometimes people are like shook because and that's why they used to love when I would go live every day, like back in a while, every day I went live on TikTok. But anyway, most of them are up on YouTube. But I can be asked a question about so many different things because I've been through so many things in my life and I've like learned how to navigate them, and I've learned a lot of tools, and I've learned a lot of ways, and I've been adding and adding and adding. One of the first coaches that I ever hired, he told me that like he's like, I don't think you understand what a gift you have, that you're able to learn these very, very complex topics and issues, and you're able to put them together and tie them together. And it was like, I always love talking is something that I do. I got the gift of gab. But it was like, so now I get to talk to people, which I love to do. I get to learn, which I love to do and I'm doing anyway. I get to create content, which I love to do and I'm doing anyway, but it'll just be more intentional. I get to feel like I'm doing my soul's purpose because I fucking love this work and I really want to help the collective. And I feel like this is just like the best thing in the world. And I feel like that because it changed me, like I was a very depressed, anxious, like unhappy, broke, miserable person. And I didn't like living. And I just knew that that wasn't the point. Like that wasn't the point. It had to be better. Like I refused to accept that would be my reality. And I was willing to do whatever it took to make sure that wasn't the reality that I kept living any longer. And so I've just challenged myself to go deeper and deeper in the work. And once I started learning, I would talk to my like friends and anybody about it. And I just was so hooked, like being able to talk about these things, being able to do these things. So I just like kept learning. And yeah, that's basically how I got really into personal development and got really my first sighting of what was available out there, that like you could actually create a personal brand on social media where you were helping people, and that you could create digital courses. And then I started investing in a lot of digital courses. And here's the thing, a lot of people will be like, well, I can't do this because I'm in a negative work environment, or like and it's like that's the work. That's when you master it, because that's what I did. I would drive to and from the state in the worst rush hour traffic, and I would listen to podcasts, and I would listen to uplifting things and audiobooks. And so I was learning, and I just felt better even being in the same experiences that have always felt shitty. It was like that's when I knew that this worked. And it was like sometimes beyond words, because it's like, this is just, I'm a different person even though I'm in the same situation. And I think so many people don't understand that, and that never lands for them, that's how you know the work is working, because you can't control everything in your reality. You can't necessarily control rush hour. Do I never choose to drive in rush hour because I work from home? Yeah. But every once in a while you are going to get stuck in traffic somewhere. But it's like, who are you being in those mundane moments that you're not really paying attention to because you're more unconscious? Because that's going to really show you how much of a conscious being or an unconscious being you are. But it's like, that's when I went the deepest in this work and did all the work I teach you in soul manifestation. And so it's like, I just started creating programs about things that with tools that worked for me, and understandings and perspectives and teachings. I just have taken all of the years of learning and just applied it all together. And then I started creating programs. And then it got to this point where I had so many fucking programs that I was like, I might as well just create a membership so people can just join everything for a low ticket, and it can take them through everything that I went through. Because if you're like me, you're not just interested in personal development, you're also interested in mindset, and you're also interested in emotional intelligence, and you're also interested in money, and you're also interested in human design and like universal laws, like, because if I just can't be the only one, you know what I mean? There's other manifesting generators out there. So that's like a synopsis of like how I really got started, and then like a really quick like fast forward to how I've gotten to where I am right now. Okay, and the last and final question, did you ever struggle with lack consciousness? If yes, what steps did you take to create financial abundance in your life? What are your favorite techniques or mindset shifts that really worked for you? I spent my entire life struggling, being in lack, being broke as fuck. And so, you guys know, if you're not new to my world, that money work is what I call it. There's a lot of money work that's involved for you to be able to change your financial situation, for you to be able to get out of lack consciousness. So it isn't just one thing. Money work is very, very intricate because it is money mindset, but it is also emotional intelligence, but it is also changing your habits, and it is also changing your behavior with money, and it is also changing your relationship with money, and it is learning to feel differently when it comes to money. It is learning to expect different things when it comes to money. It's a very multifaceted thing when it comes to money. And this is something that I dedicated 10 years to doing. If you are in Evidence Bank, which is my latest masterclass, if you're really looking to get out of lack consciousness, I highly, highly, highly encourage you to get into Evidence Bank, because it's a masterclass that's like an hour and a half long, where I'm telling you how to really be able to rewire your mind to see abundance everywhere, and how to get out of lack frequency for good, because there is a lot of work behind it. And the money game is my 30-day money manifestation challenge, where I really give you the activations and the perspective shifts that you need, while also giving you daily action steps to take. Because one thing I found when I got into the money mindset world was that everyone was talking about money mindset, but no one was actually giving you any tangible steps to take during the day. And so, yes, your mindset is extremely important. So the best thing that I need you to really wrap your head around is that money is a mindset first. With everything, it's always a mindset first. I find that mindset just isn't enough when it comes to money, because we have everything that I talked about before. It's all intricately related. So it isn't just your mindset, it's in every fabric of your being. So it's really deeper than just your mindset, but the biggest thing that you need to understand is that 88% of people are self-made millionaires, which means they came from lack, they came from poverty, and they were surrounded by people and places and a reality that told them that this had to be normal for them. And in order for them to change their consciousness from lack consciousness to wealth consciousness, and I have seen this across the board 100% of the time, is you need to start being able to think greater than your circumstances, to feel greater than your circumstances. You need to stop putting money on a pedestal. You need to stop seeing yourself as smaller than money, or unable to handle money, or bad with money, or that money never works out for you, or that you never have enough money. Like, you also need to look at the stories that you have behind money. And what happens is a lot of people think that they can't change their relationship with money, or their thoughts with money, or their frequency with money until they have more money. And that just isn't the case. And if anything, that type of behavior is very matrixy. Like, that's how you've been told to operate. And there's a reason why lack and scarcity and poverty are truly in every fabric of every being of our society. Like, it's all about being poor. Like, everyone, everything, the news is making you more poor. The current events are making you more poor. Television is making you more poor. Like, it's just, we literally have a society that's based on poverty thinking and poverty mindsets, and like, it's just a really wild experience. But you came here to master abundance. You really did. And it's available for anyone. But what I think a lot of people don't understand is you can absolutely be financially free. You can absolutely be a millionaire. You can absolutely be a multimillionaire. You can absolutely be a billionaire. In this day and age, it has never been more likely for you to be a billionaire than it is now. But what I have to tell you is, and what you have to understand is, in order for you to become a wealthy person, you have to be able to not only navigate yourself and change every fiber of your being when it comes to money, but you also need to be able to navigate the fact that you live in a society that thrives off of scarcity, that thrives off of poverty consciousness, poverty mindset. Because if you are still working in a job, everybody is going to be in a poverty mindset, unless you're working for like a small successful business owner. So use discernment, but I would say 99% of places, unless you're working for yourself, you are going to be surrounded by poverty mindset. Your family, your friends, the circle that you have in your locality, they're all probably, 100% of them are probably in a poverty consciousness. So you not only have to learn to master yourself when it comes to abundance, but you also need to learn how to master navigating the dualistic experience of being able to think more abundantly, to speak more abundantly, to feel more abundantly when everyone else around you is stuck in lack. And that gets really difficult, honestly. It is a very difficult thing to do. And this is why a lot of people that have become financially free, they close their circle a lot. Quite honestly, if you're still hanging out with people all the time that are complaining about money, that are complaining about lack, that won't go places or do things because it costs so much, like, if everyone in your life is using money as an excuse as to why they can't do or have things, it's going to be 10 times harder for you to do this work, because the 5 people that you spend the most time with actually set your standards for what you're available for. So the best thing to do if you're working on your money work, like if you're doing the money work, if you're working on your relationship with money, is to start surrounding yourself in circles and in places where people are also doing this work, where people are also having higher vibrational conversations around money, where people aren't using money as a limitation, but people are actually using money as an expander. Because if you're hanging out with people who don't even make $50,000 a year, versus you get into a mastermind or a program or a community with people that are making $50,000 in a month consistently, not only are there going to be different conversations, there's going to be different actions, there's going to be a different frequency, there's going to be different self-concepts. Like, these are 2 completely opposite ends of the spectrum. And what I need you to understand is there are people consistently making not even $50,000 a month. There are people that are consistently making $700,000 a month. $700,000 a month. It has never been easier for you to become a millionaire. There are a lot of people that have $1 million months. But do you understand that the people that are having $50,000 plus months, they are moving differently than 99.9% of people. They are talking differently than 99.9% of people. They are investing differently than 99.9% of people. And because of that, they have a smaller circle. Because of that, they have stronger boundaries of who they'll hang out with, who they'll be around. Like, I'm not saying to cut everyone off in your life, but I am also saying if you want to raise your frequency when it comes to money, you need to raise your standards for who you are spending your time with and for the conversations that you're having. Because if you're spending your mornings and nights doing money work and, building your emotional intelligence and embodying a wealthy self-concept and learning to invest in yourself and learning to expect things differently with money and learning to see money as safe, supportive, and consistent. But then all day long, you are going out to dinner with your friends who are bitching about money and how money's always running out and how rich people are bad and how the economy is against them and complaining about gas prices and complaining about prices at the grocery store. Like, that is a poverty consciousness. And because you are complaining about something and talking negatively about something, you are staying stuck in that reality. So if you're doing the work, but then when you go out and you're around your friends and family, if they're actually having conversations that are the direct opposite of the work that you're doing and pulling you back down into this lack frequency, it's going to feel impossible for you to actually move the needle forward. So this is a time for you to get super intentional with the people that you're around, with the conversations that you're in. You cannot complain about money. You cannot speak about lack. You cannot talk about lack. You cannot be worrying about money. You cannot be fearful of money. You cannot be hoarding money. You also can't be spending money recklessly. Like, wealthy people have they do everything different when it comes to money, from the conversations that they have, from the thoughts that they think, from the way that they invest money, from their mindset when they are investing. Like, wealthy people know that they're their greatest return on investment. So they are always learning from wealthy people. They are always surrounding themselves with wealthy people. They are changing their community. They're changing their actions. They are changing their behaviors. Like, if you want to be financially free, it's absolutely possible. But I think a lot of people underestimate that this means that every fabric of who you are has to change. And it's almost like you have to, it's almost like you have to throw yourself a funeral for your old self. And I know that that's a weird way to say it, but it's like your old self really has to die off, because like we talked about, your self-concept holds your actions, your behaviors, your habits, your beliefs, what you believe is available for you. And it's like you really have to say goodbye to that old version of yourself. You cannot think the same. You cannot speak the same. You cannot feel the same. You cannot have the same thoughts and the same feeling when you are looking at your bank account or when you're spending money or when you're getting paid or anything. And it's like, because money is the currency that we have used to be able to buy goods and have experiences. Not every experience costs money. Understand that. But like, to drive a car and to live in a house and to pay for food and to pay for healthcare, like all these things, like they do cost money. But that just needs to be something that you accept. That is just something that we do on this planet at this time. It's how we exchange goods, because we don't barter anymore. So it can't be that money is a negative thing, because money in and of itself, like everything in the universe, is neutral. You are assigning meaning to what money means. And because of the meanings you assign, that creates the beliefs that you have, the relationship that you have, the experience that you have, and the feelings that you have. So it's like, it's not just one money affirmation that's going to change your life. It's about being really fucking serious, really dedicated to doing the work and realizing what people, places, and things are no longer going to be able to come with you on this journey to wealth. Because one thing that I will tell you is, because of the fact that 99% of people are still living in lack, and they thrive there. They thrive on complaining about the lack of money. They like all of the conversations about that. People, when you go out, if you like pay attention to what like people are talking about and you listen to them, almost all of the conversations are bitching and complaining and moaning and talking about how there's never enough money. When I still worked for the New York State government and we get paid nothing, I stopped going to lunch, because at the lunch table, I sat at like a big table with a bunch of people who I loved, but they were just so deeply immersed in lack. And I was like, I can't be having these conversations and I can't be hearing these conversations. I've been hearing these conversations for over 2 decades and it's making me get stuck here. And I have to be able to put my blinders on and I've got to just dive into the work. So it's about brainwashing yourself to become abundant, to become wealthy, which means listening to wealth consciousness books, which means listening to podcasts, which means investing into programs. And what a lot of people don't get is you can't change your mindset for free, especially when it comes to money. If you are not willing to invest in resources to help you change your relationship with money, then you're acting as a poor person still that says that they want money. And think about somebody that says over and over again that they want something, but they don't ever do anything about it. My mother has been saying literally every week since I've been born, and I'm 35, and she still says it to this day, at least 7 times a day. Well, I'm going to start my diet on Monday. She's been saying that for 35 years now. No exaggeration. Every single person in her life can tell you that. She is at this point the boy who cried wolf. No one takes her seriously. It's to the point where I have told her I won't actually listen to this conversation anymore because I could really help you lose weight, but you actually don't want to because you sit and drink soda all day long. You sit and eat food all day long that's processed. You eat way more than you need to. You don't move your body. Like you don't have a healthy bone in your body and you're not trying to change it. So it's like, you can't be the person that says that you want to manifest more money, but you're not willing to get into a program, you're not willing to invest in a mentor, you're not willing to buy a book, you're not willing to put money in. Like what a lot of people don't get is you have to start investing. And I'm not saying that you need to spend all of your money on something that you can't afford and then go into more scarcity. But what I am saying is if you are trying to get everything for free when you are trying to work on your money mindset, that's is a clear indication that you still have the self-concept of a poor person. So you have to realize when there is something that isn't landing, like if you've been trying to do money work for 2 years even, like that's too long. If you've been doing that work and you haven't seen movement, then it's probably because you haven't invested in something. It's probably because you're scrolling through TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram all day long looking for free information about wealth consciousness when that is a poverty thing, like the amount of time you're spending to do that, whereas you could just be investing in one thing. And an investment could be $22. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that you need to go and invest $22,000 that you don't have. So you've got to use discernment here. But like, I could literally talk about money all day long. But those are the things that like you need to understand. And here's the thing, right? You're not going to be able, like this 120-minute voice note, it's packed, jam-packed with value, but this still isn't enough for you to transform. Like this is why I have, what, 1, 2, 3, I think I've got 3 specific money programs because I tackle it from all different levels. I've actually been feeling really called to open up a lower ticket membership when it comes to money, and I'm thinking about putting all of my money programs into like a low ticket option. So let me know if that's something that you would be interested in, like either like this or comment below. And like you can click on this and hold down and send emojis if you like it. Let me know, like if that's something that you've been looking for, if you feel like that would really support you. I've been sitting with it and I think that I do want to do it, but I can like get the ball rolling a lot faster if you guys are interested in that. I would recommend getting into Evidence Bank because I really do have a good conversation with you there about being able to really just change how you are operating day in and day out from a lack frequency to going into an abundant frequency. And from that place, it's a lot easier to view money differently and speak about money differently. But at the end of the day, like you have to change the way you're speaking about money right now. You have to change the way you're thinking about money right now. You have to change the way that you're feeling about money right now. Because if you're waiting for the money to be in your bank account so that way you can think, speak and feel differently, you're never going to feel differently. You're never going to have a different experience with money. So that's what I will leave it at right there. And with that, that will be the end of this. Sorry, Ghost started drinking water, and she drinks water so freaking loudly that I was like, let me just end that one and wait for her to stop slurping in the background, because I'm in the kitchen right now. But so that is the end of the portal. Those are all of the questions that we had that came in by the cutoff. Honestly, the last question I did just look at it just to see what it was for shits and giggles, and it was about self-concept. So we've already gone really deep into that. So that worked out perfectly because we did like totally navigate that question. So we answered all of the questions. I got way more questions than I had initially anticipated in doing this, but this worked out perfectly. You'll have access to these questions for 24 hours. So tomorrow the group will be expiring. If you're in AOMU, you will have access to this entire replay. I'm going to put all of the audios together, and that will be posted in the membership tomorrow once this closes. So you can go back and replay them if you are in the membership. If you want to have access to this entire transmission, if you want to be able to replay it, then I'm going to give you guys the option to purchase it for $22. You'll be able to purchase it as soon as right before the group closes, actually, or maybe later on today, so you've got some time to purchase it. I will close the group right now on my website, and then everyone will be removed from it. But if you do want to go in and purchase, I'll just drop the link again for the portal, and you can buy it separately, and you'll get it at an exclusive rate. Like, no one else will have the option to purchase this for $22. But since you guys were here, I told you that you would have a really discounted rate to be able to purchase this. If you are looking for any support, whether it's in business or manifestation or mindset or energetics or aligned action or any of the things, I have, I think, 30 different programs varying from master classes to workshops to full-blown programs on my website. You can always join any of them as standalones, or the best resource is really to get into one of my memberships, either AOMU for all things manifestation, mindset, energetics, things like that. And then Unapologetic is specifically for business owners. So if you are an aspiring business owner, or if you have been in business, no matter where you're at, no matter what income level you're at, if you are looking for support, then I would highly encourage you to join one of these options. As I mentioned before, AOMU is on sale for this month. So if you join before April 1st, you will have the ability to join for $222 a month, and that is $111 off. It's normally $333 a month, and you get access to all of the programs plus a monthly group coaching call, and you'll save over $1,300 if you join right now while that sale is going. So if you want to be in my world, that's really the best place to be in. If you are ready to go very deep and you're ready to completely transform your life in the next 3 months, my private mentorship is the best space for you. In private mentorship, you get options, or you get the ability to join both Unapologetic and AOMU for the time that you're in mentorship. And you will be able to get access to me like this, where you get text and audio support Monday through Friday every single week. And you're also automatically in every new program that I launch, because you get all of the business programs plus all of the manifestation programs. If you are interested in private mentorship, it is a 5-figure commitment. So if you are seriously ready to invest right now and you have the money to invest, then shoot me a DM and I would be happy to talk with you. Or you can go on my website and fill out the application. So that way I can just make sure that you're a good fit and I'm a good fit for you and for what you're looking to achieve and who you're looking to become. If you have any questions at all about any of my programs or any of my offers, then you can always DM me. I'm here for you guys. DM me on Instagram, DM me on TikTok. And if you want links to anything, you can just go right to my website. My website is linked in my Instagram bio. It's linked in my YouTube. It's linked on TikTok. It's just alexaraysmith.com, but everything is laid out there. If you do have any questions though, you can always shoot me a DM. And if you are somebody that would be interested in having a lower ticket investment to start really transforming your relationship with money, then do me a favor and drop an emoji on the last voice note. And if I get people, like if you guys are interested in that, then I just haven't come up with a name yet and I haven't fully decided because low ticket memberships, it's just, it's a whole different beast when you do something low ticket. But just let me know if you guys are interested and I can take that off my to-do list and off the maybe thing and then make it into a reality. So let me know. I will drop the link for you guys to be able to purchase this a little later once I have done everything behind the scenes. But I wanted to say thank you so much for being here. I'm so appreciative for all of you. Let me know if you've had any breakthroughs. You can drop them in the comments in here, or there's a section in the group that you can drop your breakthroughs. I'll leave the group open for a few more hours so that way you can go in and you can answer the questions. And everything was anonymous in here, so the questions were anonymous. If you go in there and submit it, it's all anonymous. So feel free, whatever way works best for you. But thank you so much for being here, you guys. I'm so grateful for all of you. And I'm so excited to see you in another program or another offer, or whatever that looks like. But thank you so much. And I hope you have the most amazing day. I'll talk with you guys later. Bye.